Today's lesson is about insurance and benefits. This is part of our vocational vocabulary unit. We are on the 5th week of study. And so when we're talking about insurance and benefits, benefits is the larger umbrella term. So insurance is actually a type of job benefit that we can receive due to our employment. So let's learn about what these two things are. So insurance, what is insurance? I'm sure you've heard your parents talk about insurance. Maybe you have an older brother or sister who's talking about insurance because they just got their driver's permit or their driver's license and they have to get auto insurance. So we live in a complex world that is full of beautiful uncertainties. That's how I like to think about it. And so insurance is a policy contract between an individual, which would be yourself or myself, and an insurance company, and there are a ton of insurance companies, where the individual receives certain coverages and financial protections against potential losses in exchange for a monthly fee. So basically, insurance is risk management. It's something we don't use all the time, but we have just in case. You have it for those uh-oh or what if moments in life. Okay, so insurance just makes sure that you are covered in the case of an event, an accident, that something should happen that could result in financial loss for you, loss of, property, income, things like that. And so you pay a monthly fee for insurance just to safeguard against that risk. And then should that risk occur, then your insurance will help cover a majority of the costs. You might have to pay something called a deductible. It's the amount that you pay up until you hit the actual insurance premium, in which case they will take care of the rest of it. So an insurance is a great thing to have, and a lot of times it's required. For example, if you're driving a car, you are required to have auto insurance. Auto insurance just means that in the event that you were to get into a car accident where either you hurt someone else or someone else hurt you, you're both covered. And so your insurance would be liable for any damages, okay, depending on who's at fault. So like I said, there's a bunch of different types of insurances. There is life insurance, property insurance for like your house, where you live, the land you own. There's marine insurance if you have a boat, fire insurance, earthquake insurance against, emergencies like that. There's overall liability insurance, social insurance, and health insurance. So health insurance, a lot of insurances have copays. So copay is what you pay as the insured person. And then the remaining cost, the total cost, is paid by your insurance company. And then, like I said earlier, a deductible, it's the amount you got to pay out of pocket before the insurance expenses or before the insurance company will cover the remaining expenses. So depending on the type of insurance, you might have a low deductible, which means you'll probably pay more monthly, or you might have a high deductible, or you might pay less monthly, but in the event something bad happens, you're gonna have to pay a lot. So let's talk about health insurance. This is a type of insurance that your job or employer will likely provide for you or that you can pay into. So health insurance is a type of coverage that helps pay for the costs associated with healthcare needs, including going to the doctor, the cost of medications, the cost of lab work, x-rays, anytime you have to go to the doctor, okay? It's really expensive to pay entirely out of pocket. I mean, really expensive. And so there are different types of health insurance that range from the minimum required insurance, which is called the MEC. This is actually what is legally required in the United States in order to, otherwise you'll have to pay a tax penalty fee if you don't have insurance coverage at all, okay? And this is meant to, again, mitigate the possibility that you will have to pay a fortune, in upfront costs and out-of-pocket costs should you need to go to the hospital, because the average emergency room stay is like $10,000 to $15,000, which out of pocket is an insane amount of money. Okay, you'd have to work for a really long time to accrue that much to pay off that debt. So health insurance helps us, cover those costs. So there's a minimum requirement for insurance, or you can have full coverage insurance, which covers all of your needs. Generally, the more coverage you have, so if you have full coverage, the more expensive your monthly health insurance cost will be. So there's a balance, right? If you have full coverage, then that might be good. If you have, pressing healthcare needs, if you have certain health disorders that require you to go to the doctors a lot, you're going to want to opt for full coverage because in the end, in the long run, it'll save you money. Whereas if you're a perfectly healthy person with no pre-existing conditions, then maybe you just want the minimum required health insurance. Once working, a lot of jobs will pay for the cost of your health insurance, or they will deduct the cost of health insurance from your paycheck. So it just kind of depends on what job you work. All right, life insurance. Life insurance provides helpful protections via financial remuneration. So they pay your family or your dependents in the event that you die. And so I realize that's really dark and it's uncomfortable to talk about or even think about. But it's important to prepare for every possibility and have a backup plan to cover the costs associated with funeral expenses, loss of income due to death. And so a lot of times when people think of life insurance, you should think that it's not for you, it's for the people that you love. It's for your family. It's for your husband or wife, for your children. And while you guys don't have that just yet, this is just things to think about. So there are 3 types of life insurance policies. There's whole life, universal life, and term life. And I won't go into depth about what those 3 types are. You can do the research on your own to see what's right for you. But really consider getting life insurance while you're young, ideally in your 20s and 30s, as you most definitely have less risks in terms of, risks for dying young. And you'll likely qualify for better coverage and cheaper coverage. Okay, so once you turn 20, start looking into life insurance. It's a policy that just protects your family in the event that something happens. All right, so now benefits. What we've talked about before, health insurance, life insurance, those are 2 types of benefits. Your job may or may not provide life insurance. Your job will likely provide health insurance. So depending on the type of job or agency where you work, you might qualify for additional benefits. This is again more typical of full-time positions. Job benefits are non-compensation additions that employees receive in addition to their paycheck. Okay, so you get your monthly, weekly, however you're paid, you get your paycheck, and then there's other things that you get in addition, and it helps to enhance the worth of your job, depending upon your, individual needs. So job benefits can include insurance, like we've just discussed. It can include retirement savings plans, paid sick leave, paid vacation days, as well as other job perks. So let's learn about what those are. All right, so here's a few examples, some illustrations of employee benefits and perks. All right, so let's talk about retirement benefits. Realistically, no one's gonna wanna work when they're like 80 or 90. You just don't have the energy. Our bodies weren't built to work that long in terms of doing labor. So retirement benefits such as a 401k plan or a 403b plan, they help to supplement your lifetime earnings via Social Security or the alternative retirement plan that your company uses. This is what allows you to live a comfortable life once you are able to retire at the age of 62 if you opt for early retirement, or at the age of 66 if you opt to retire later but receive your full retirement. So when you receive your pay stub, it'll list out your deductions. And so when you look at your deductions, this is where it will tell you how much is taken from your paycheck for retirement. So no matter what job you work, you will pay into retirement. You will pay into likely Social Security. Some jobs don't do that. For example, Miss Morris is a teacher. We don't pay into Social Security. We pay into a different different retirement plan. Okay, we pay into CalSTRS. And so some jobs, they will match your contributions to your retirement plan, and some jobs won't. So it really just depends. And if this is a deal breaker for you, definitely look into what your job offers or have your family help you. Paid sick leave. These are days that are allotted to you to use when you are feeling ill or when you have to take care of a close relative who is sick, like your husband or wife or your child. The idea is that you will stay home and get better instead of spreading germs at work. So you must tell your employer as far in advance as possible that you are feeling ill and that you'll be using your paid sick leave. Okay, so you can't I mean, technically you can let them know the day of, but the moment you start to feel ill, or the moment that, your loved one starts to feel ill, do your due diligence and just go ahead and let your boss know, you know what, I'm so sorry, I won't be coming in tomorrow. I'm not feeling well, or I have to take care of my sick relative that I live with. When you when you use paid sick leave, you still get paid as though you're actually at work. Okay, so you're still making money, which is great. The only downside, though, is that most jobs only provide a certain number of days. Usually, the max is up to a week to use for this purpose. Okay, so again, this is reserved for when you are sick. So these aren't the same as paid vacation days. These are when you are feeling ill and you just can't hang it out, and you don't want to spread germs at work. Now, paid vacation days, on the other hand, they refer to predetermined amount of days that you can take off work for personal use, and you'll still, again, be paid as though you're at work. So unlike sick days, which are really just more for emergency purposes, paid vacation days need to be carefully planned out and approved by your employer beforehand. So if you decide tomorrow that, I want to take a vacation day, probably can't do that. You need to confirm and let your boss know beforehand, and at least, I would say, 2 weeks beforehand. Because not confirming with your employer beforehand can result in you not getting paid during the days that you take off. They might say, you know what, you didn't give us enough notice. I'm sorry, but we can't give you those vacation days. We needed you here at work. We had to find a substitute for you. There's certain job responsibilities that only you can do, and therefore you're not going to be able to use your paid vacation. So once you get hired and you find out that you do have paid vacation days, ask what the process is for using them. And lastly, perks. Some jobs offer additional perks that we have not discussed. These perks or additional advantages of your job may include built-in salary bonuses or salary increases that are quarterly versus yearly. Employee discounts and rewards. This is a huge one, especially if you work in the service industry, if you work at a retail location, maybe in a store, you might be able to get discounts on different items at the store. They might allow you use of company vehicles or company equipment. Maybe they have employee appreciation programs where, when you show excellent job performance during your evaluations, you get certain like trinkets or rewards or prizes. Childcare assistance. This is a big one for once you have a family. Some jobs will provide childcare assistance free of charge, which can get very expensive fast. So childcare assistance is a great job perk if you have it. And then some jobs are really awesome in that they offer tuition reimbursement. So if you're going to community college or trade school at the same time, some jobs will help pay for your school if you're working for them at the same time. I know Starbucks does this, which is fantastic. It's a great way to, gain work experience while also helping pay for school, and the costs of which can, add up really quick. So these are just a few of the job perks that are available. When you get hired on for a job, it's totally okay and appropriate to ask, if there are any.